3 years. That's how long Dylan and I have been married in secret. No ring on my finger, no my wife when he introduces me to his buddies, just Lila, a good friend. Most days, I can brush it off. We've got a nice little apartment in Brooklyn. The rent split evenly. And on the nights he's actually home, he'll make popcorn and we'll binge that terrible reality show we both pretend to hate. But lately, those nights have been few and far between. It's always Eve this, Eve that. Eve's going through a hard time, he'll say, grabbing his jacket as he heads out the door at 10 p.m. Her boyfriend's been acting up again. I gotta check on her. Eve Carter, his childhood best friend. His ride or die, as he calls her. I've met her a handful of times, always with that sweet, fragile smile like she's one wrong word away from crying. She'd hug me too tight and say, "I'm so glad Dylan has you. Lila, you're such a good sport about everything." Meaning the fact that I'm his wife but pretend to be just some girl he hooks up with when his real best friend isn't in crisis. Last night was the worst. I'd made his favorite meatloaf, the one with the crispy bacon on top, and set the table with the nice plates, you know, the ones we got as a wedding gift that we never use. The food got cold. I texted him at 7:30, "Meatloaf's ready. When are you coming home?" No reply. Called at 9:00, straight to voicemail. At 11:30, he stumbled in. Smelling like Eve's vanilla perfume. She had a panic attack, he mumbled, kicking off his shoes. Jake, her boyfriend, yelled at her. I had to stay until she fell asleep. I didn't say anything, just wrapped the meatloaf in foil and put it in the fridge. He noticed, though. "You mad?" he asked, coming up behind me and putting his hands on my waist. His voice was soft, the way it used to be when we first started dating. "I know I've been distant, baby, but Eve really needs me right now. Jake's been hitting her, you know, I can't just leave her alone." Hitting her, that's what he'd been saying for weeks. I wanted to ask why she didn't leave him, why she didn't get a restraining order, why it was always Dylan who had to be the one to protect her, but I bit my tongue, because that's what I do. I'm the good sport, the wife who stays home while her husband plays hero to his childhood sweetheart. I'm not mad, I lied, turning around to kiss his cheek, "Just worried about you." "Get some sleep," he smiled, that lazy, charming smile that made me fall for him in the first place, and went to shower. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the foil-wrapped meatloaf, and felt something twist in my chest, like a thread that's been stretching and stretching, finally starting to fray. I didn't know then that in less than 24 hours, that thread would snap completely, that I'd be lying in a hospital bed, begging for him to answer his phone, while he was probably right by Eve's side. But hindsight's a bitch, right? Section 2, the rain was coming down so hard it felt like the sky was crying. I was driving home from my shift at the bookstore, white-knuckling the steering wheel as the wipers struggled to keep up. It was 8 p.m., and I'd texted Dylan 3 times already, asking if he wanted me to pick up dinner. No response. Typical. I was on Atlantic Avenue, just a few blocks from our apartment. When it happened, a pickup truck ran a red light, slamming into the driver's side of my little Honda Civic. The impact was so hard my head hit the window, and everything went white. For a second, there was nothing. No pain, no sound, just silence. Then the ringing started, high and shrill, and the pain hit like a truck. My leg was throbbing. My chest felt like someone was sitting on it, and I couldn't move my left arm. "Help!" I tried to yell, but my voice came out as a whisper. The rain was pouring through the broken window, soaking my hair and clothes. I could see the driver of the pickup stumbling out of his truck, phone to his ear. I called 911. He shouted, "They're on their way." I fumbled for my phone in my purse, my right hand shaking so bad I could barely grip it. I needed Dylan. I needed him to be here, to hold my hand, to tell me everything was going to be okay. I dialed his number, my heart pounding. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. "Hey, it's Dylan, leave a message, Dylan." I gasped, tears mixing with rain on my face. "I got in an accident. Please call me back. I'm on Atlantic and 5th. I need you." I hung up, my hands trembling, and dialed again. Same thing, voicemail. I tried his work phone. Nothing. His friend Mike's number. No answer. I even tried Eve's phone. Desperate, It went straight to voicemail too. The sirens got closer, and soon there were paramedics prying open the car door. Can you tell us your name?" one of them asked. Shining a light in my eyes. "Lila," I said. "Lila Bennett, my husband, Dylan Harris. Can you call him? His number is—" I recited it, over and over, until they put a neck brace on me and lifted me onto a stretcher. The ambulance ride was a blur of lights and beeping machines. I kept my eyes closed, trying to focus on Dylan's face, the way he laughs when he's had too much beer, the way he hums off-key in the shower, the way he held me when my grandma died. I needed that Dylan. Not the one who was always running to Eve. When we got to the hospital, they rushed me into surgery. I remember the anesthesiologist asking me if I had any allergies, and I mumbled something about penicillin. Then everything went dark again. The last thought I had was, Dylan will be here when I wake up. He has to be. He's my husband, even if no one else knows it. Section 3. I woke up to the sound of beeping. My eyes felt heavy, like someone had glued them shut, and my throat was dry as sandpaper. I tried to move, but a sharp pain shot through my leg and arm, making me groan. "Easy there, honey." A nurse with curly red hair and a name tag that said Maggie appeared beside my bed. She held a cup of water to my lips, and I sipped it slowly. "You've been out for 3 days. Had surgery on your broken leg and dislocated shoulder. You're a lucky girl. Could have been a lot worse. 3 days." My stomach dropped. 3 days, and Dylan hadn't been here. Where's my husband?" I asked. My voice hoarse. "Dylan. Did he come?" Maggie's smile faded a little. She set the cup down and checked my phone. "Honey, no one's been here to see you. No calls, either. We tried the emergency contact you gave us. Dylan Harris. Left 3 messages. Never heard back." My heart felt like it had been crushed. 3 days. He hadn't even called the hospital. I reached for my phone, but it wasn't on the nightstand. "Where's my phone?" "It was damaged in the accident," Maggie said. "We're keeping it in the front desk. Can get it for you later if you want, but the screen's shattered, probably won't turn on." I lay back, staring at the ceiling. The tiles were yellowed, with a water stain in the corner that looked like a face. A sad, mocking face. I thought about Dylan, and Eve, and that stupid meatloaf I'd made, all the nights I'd waited up for him, all the lies I'd told myself about how he just cares about his friend. It all felt so stupid now. Later that afternoon, Maggie brought me a tablet from the nurse's station so I could use the Wi-Fi. "Figured you might want to try contacting him again," she said, setting it on my lap. I typed in Dylan's number, hands shaking, and called. Voicemail, again. I left a message, my voice breaking. "Dylan, I'm in Brooklyn Hospital. I broke my leg and arm. Please, just call me. I need to know you're okay." I scrolled through Facebook while I waited for him to call back. Nothing from Dylan, but his friend Jake. Wait, no, not Eve's Jake, another Jake. Had posted a photo of Eve at a coffee shop. The timestamp was from that morning. She was smiling, holding a latte, no signs of being abused or panicked, and in the background, I saw a familiar jacket draped over the chair next to her. Dylan's grey North Face, the one he'd worn the night before my accident. A nurse walked by, chatting with another nurse. "Heard about that Carter girl," one said. "The one whose boyfriend beats her. Poor thing. Her friend's been with her 24/7, I hear. Never leaves her side." The other nurse clucked her tongue. "Must be nice to have someone that loyal. Bet her boyfriend's gonna get locked up for good this time." I closed the tablet and lay back. The pain in my leg was nothing compared to the pain in my chest. 3 days. He'd been with Eve for 3 days, playing the hero, while his wife was in the hospital, broken and alone. And Eve, she was fine, smiling in coffee shops, wearing Dylan's jacket. I didn't cry, I just felt empty, like a balloon that had been popped, all the air gone. I knew then that waiting for him was a waste of time, but I still couldn't bring myself to let go. Not yet. Section 4. Day 7. I'd stopped counting the times I'd called Dylan. My shoulder was in a sling, my leg in a cast, and I could finally sit up in bed without wanting to scream. The only bright spot was Samantha, my best friend since college, the only person who knew about the secret marriage. She'd shown up at the hospital at 6 a.m. on day 4, carrying a giant bag of my favorite candy and a scowl that could scare a bear. "Where the hell is he?" she'd snapped, slamming the candy on the nightstand. I've called him 12 times, texted him 20, and he hasn't even read them. What kind of husband bails when his wife is in the hospital? He's with Eve, I'd said, staring at my hands. Her boyfriend's hitting her. He can't leave her. Samantha had laughed, a bitter, harsh sound. Oh, please, Eve's been playing the poor abused girlfriend card since we were in high school. Remember when she said her ex-boyfriend pushed her, and it turned out she tripped over her own feet? This is just another one of her games, and Dylan's too stupid to see it. I didn't want to believe her, but deep down, I knew she was right. Eve had always been good at making herself the center of attention, at making Dylan feel like she couldn't survive without him, and Dylan, he loved being needed. Samantha stayed with me every day after work. She'd feed me Jell-O, read me terrible romance novels, and rant about Dylan. You deserve better than this, Lila, she'd say. Brushing my hair out of my face, you've been hiding this marriage for 3 years because he wasn't ready to tell people. But when you're in the hospital, he's off playing knight in shining armor to some girl who doesn't even need saving. On day 7, I was scrolling through Instagram on Samantha's phone. Mine was still broken. When I saw it, a post from Eve's cousin, Mia, it was a photo of Dylan and Eve sitting on a couch, Eve leaning against his shoulder. A blanket draped over both of them. The caption read, "So grateful for Dylan, who's been taking such good care of my cousin. She's been through so much red heart hash." The timestamp was from the night before, 10 p.m., the same time I'd been lying in bed, crying because my leg hurt so bad I couldn't sleep. I showed Samantha the photo. She didn't say anything, just took her phone back, deleted the app, and handed me a tissue. "That's it," she said, her voice firm. "When you get out of here, you're moving in with me, and you're telling that idiot to go to hell." I nodded, but I didn't say anything, because part of me still held out hope. Maybe Eve really was hurt. Maybe Dylan just hadn't seen my messages. Maybe he'd show up tomorrow. That night, I had a dream. I was back in our apartment. The meatloaf on the table, still hot. Dylan walked in, smiling, and kissed me. "I'm sorry I'm late," he said. "Eve was fine. Just wanted to talk. I should have been here." Then the room faded. And I was in the hospital again. But Dylan was there, holding my hand. He was saying something, but I couldn't hear him over the beeping of the machines. I woke up sweating, my heart racing. The room was dark, except for the glow of the monitors. I reached for the tablet, typed in Dylan's number, and called. Voicemail. I left a message, my voice quiet. "I miss you. Please come see me." Then I turned off the tablet, pulled the covers over my head, and cried, not because my leg hurt. Not because I was scared, because I finally realized that the Dylan I loved, the one who made popcorn and watched bad TV with me, was gone, and he wasn't coming back. Section 5, Day 10. The doctor came in that morning and said I could go home in a couple of days, as long as I had someone to help me. "Your husband should be able to handle that," he said, smiling like he was saying something nice. I just nodded and looked away. Samantha was at work, so I was alone. I was staring out the window, watching the rain stop and the sun come out, when my phone rang, not the broken one. The hospital phone. The nurse at the front desk said, "There's a Mr. Harris on the line for you." Dylan Harris. My heart skipped a beat. He called. After 10 days, he finally called. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my hands, and said, "Put him through, Lila." His voice was rough, like he'd just woken up, or like he didn't care enough to sound awake. "Where have you been?" I asked, my voice shaking. I wanted to yell, to scream, to ask him why he'd abandoned me, but all that came out was a whisper. "Eve's been really bad," he said, like that explained everything. "Jake came over again last night, tried to break into her apartment. I had to stay with her to make sure she was safe. I just saw your messages this morning. Are you okay? Are you okay?" That's what he said. After 10 days in the hospital, broken bones, endless nights alone, all he could say was, "Are you okay?" Like I'd just had a cold, not a car accident. "I broke my leg and my shoulder," I said, my voice getting colder. "I had surgery. I've been in the hospital for 10 days. No one came to see me. No one called, except Samantha." There was a pause on the other end. "I'm sorry, baby. I didn't know it was that bad. Eve was just, she needed me. I couldn't leave her, Eve, I said, laughing bitterly. That's all you ever talk about. What about me? Dylan, your wife. I was in a car accident. I thought I was going to die, and you were with her. Again, don't do this, Lila. He said, his voice sharp. Eve is being abused. This isn't about you right now. I'll come see you later. Okay, I just need to make sure Eve is settled. That's when it hit me. He didn't care, not really. I could be dying, and he'd still choose Eve, because Eve made him feel like a hero. I just made him feel normal, and normal was boring. Don't bother, I said, my voice steady. I don't need you to come see me, Lila. Don't be stubborn. Goodbye, Dylan, I said, and hung up. I set the phone down, and for a second, I felt numb. Then the tears came, but they weren't sad tears, they were angry tears, relief tears, because I finally got it. I was done waiting. Done pretending, done being second best. I picked up the phone again and called Samantha. I'm ready, I said when she answered. When I get out of here, I'm moving in with you, and I'm getting a divorce. Samantha's scream of joy almost made my ear ring. Finally, I'll start looking for a moving company tonight. And I'll get my cousin, who's a lawyer, to draw up the papers. That idiot doesn't stand a chance. I hung up, smiling through my tears. For the first time in 10 days, I felt hopeful. Like maybe, just maybe, I could start over, without Dylan, without Eve, without the secret marriage that had been slowly killing me. Section 6. The next morning, Dylan called again. I was sitting up in bed, eating oatmeal that Samantha had brought me, when the hospital phone rang. Maggie gave me a look, half sympathetic, half annoyed, and handed it to me. Lila, I'm sorry about yesterday, Dylan said, his voice softer. I was tired, and I didn't handle that well. How are you feeling? The doctor said you might be able to come home soon. I'll come pick you up, get you whatever you need. Soup, meds, whatever. I stirred my oatmeal, the spoon clinking against the bowl. For a second, I wanted to say yes, to let him pick me up, to go back to our apartment, to pretend that everything was okay. But then I remembered the photo of him and Eve on the couch, the 10 days of silence, the way he'd brushed off my pain like it was nothing. I don't need a ride, I said, my voice flat. Samantha's picking me up, Samantha. He sounded surprised, like he'd forgotten I had other friends. But I can, you should stay with Eve. I cut him off. She needs you, right, her boyfriend Singh. She needs your 24/7 protection. I'm fine, I've got Samantha. There was a pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Lila, that's not fair. I told you, Eve's in a bad place. Fair, I laughed, loud enough that Maggie looked over. What's not fair is that I was in the hospital for 10 days. Dylan, 10 days, and you didn't show up, not once. You didn't call, you didn't text, you were too busy playing hero to your dream girl to check on your wife. That's what's not fair. Dream girl, he sounded defensive. Eve's just a friend, you know that. Do I asked, because it sure seems like she's more than a friend. It seems like she's the one you prioritize, the one you drop everything for, the one you choose. Every single time, over me, over your wife. He didn't say anything. I could hear Eve's voice in the background, faint and high-pitched. Dylan, who are you talking to? He shushed her, and my blood boiled. I'll come pick you up in a couple of days, he said, ignoring my question. When you're discharged, we can talk then. Figure this out. There's nothing to figure out, I said. I don't want you to pick me up. I don't want to talk. I want you to leave me alone, Lila. Don't be like this, he said, his voice urgent. I love you, you know I do. Love me. If he loved me, he would have been there. If he loved me, he wouldn't have let me lie in a hospital bed alone for 10 days. If he loved me, Eve wouldn't have been his first priority. No, you don't, I said, my voice breaking. You love the idea of me, the quiet wife who doesn't cause trouble, the one who waits for you while you run to Eve. But that's not me anymore. I'm done waiting. I'll come in a few days. He repeated, like he didn't hear me. Just think about it. Okay, I didn't answer. I just hung up the phone. Maggie walked over and patted my hand. Good for you, she said. That boy doesn't deserve you. Samantha showed up a few minutes later, and I told her what happened. She fist-bumped the air. Perfect, she said. Now we can make our escape plan. I talked to my cousin, and she's drawing up the divorce papers. We'll leave them on the counter when we grab your stuff. And don't worry about Dylan. By the time he realizes what's happening, you'll be settled in my place, and he'll be stuck with Eve and her fake stories." I smiled. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control, like my life was my own again. Dylan could come pick me up in a few days if he wanted. But by then, I'd be gone, and he'd have no one to blame but himself. Section 7. The doctor said I could be discharged the next day. So Samantha and I spent the afternoon planning our escape. She'd already found a moving company, 2 guys from her gym who owed her a favor, and they'd agreed to come to the apartment while Dylan was at work, or, more likely, while he was with Eve. "I checked his Instagram this morning," Samantha said. Scrolling through her phone, Eve posted a photo of him making her pancakes, captioned it "My hero red heart hash, bath," so he's definitely at her place right now. Perfect timing, I nodded. But my stomach was in knots. Going back to the apartment meant facing all the memories. The first time we kissed on the couch, the night he proposed, with a cheap ring from a gas station because he couldn't wait to make you my wife, the holidays we spent alone, because he didn't want to tell his family about me. It was going to be hard, but it was necessary. "What about my stuff?" I asked. "Most of it's in the bedroom, but the bookshelf in the living room is mine, and the kitchen stuff." "We'll take everything that's yours," Samantha said firmly. "The moving guys can handle the heavy stuff. I'll grab your clothes and the small stuff, and we'll leave the divorce papers on the coffee table, with your keys, nice and clear." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, thinking about the past 3 years, the good times, the bad times, the times I'd convinced myself that Dylan would change, that he'd tell his family about me, that he'd stop putting Eve first, but he never did. And I'd let him, because I loved him, because I was scared of being alone. I thought about our first date. We'd met at a bookstore, me working, him looking for a birthday gift for Eve. He'd asked me for a recommendation. And we'd ended up talking for an hour. He was funny and charming, and he listened when I talked. I'd fallen hard, but even then, Eve was there, my best friend, he'd said, showing me a photo of her. "I don't know what I'd do without her." At the time, I thought it was sweet. Now, I saw it for what it was, an obsession. A toxic, one-sided relationship that he refused to let go of, and I'd been stupid enough to think I could compete with that. The next morning, Samantha picked me up at 9 a.m. She helped me into her car, an old Subaru with a broken heater, and drove to the apartment. The moving guys were already there, leaning against their truck, ready to get this done. One of them asked, grinning. I nodded. We walked up to the apartment, and Samantha unlocked the door. It smelled like Dylan's cologne and Eve's vanilla perfume. My chest tightened, but I pushed it down. "Let's go," I said. The moving guys grabbed the bookshelf and my dresser. While Samantha and I packed my clothes into suitcases, I went into the kitchen and grabbed my favorite mug, the one with a cat on it that my grandma had given me, and my set of mixing bowls. Then I saw the foil-wrapped meatloaf in the fridge, still there from 2 weeks ago. I opened it, smelled it, and threw it away. It felt symbolic, like throwing away the old me. When we were done, I placed the divorce papers and my keys on the coffee table. I looked around the apartment one last time. It was a nice place, but it wasn't home, not anymore. Home was wherever I was. Without Dylan. "Let's go," I said to Samantha. She nodded, and we walked out the door. As we drove away, I didn't look back. I just rolled down the window, felt the cool air on my face, and smiled. Section 8. Samantha's apartment was a tiny studio in Queens, but it felt like paradise compared to the empty, memory-filled apartment I'd just left. She'd set up her air mattress for me in the corner, with my favorite blanket and a pile of books. "It's not much," she said, "but it's yours, and no more Dylan, no more Eve, just us." I thanked her, hugged her tight, and collapsed on the air mattress. My leg was throbbing, but I didn't care. I was free. That afternoon, my phone rang, not the broken one. Samantha had lent me an old flip phone until I could get a new one. The caller ID said unknown. I hesitated, then answered, "Hello, Lila, it's Eve." My jaw tightened. I hadn't spoken to Eve since the night of my accident, when I'd called her in a panic and gotten her voicemail. I didn't know what she wanted, but I was pretty sure it wasn't to wish me a speedy recovery. "What do you want?" I asked. my voice cold. "I heard about your accident," she said, her voice sweet and shaky, like she was about to cry. "I'm so sorry I didn't call earlier," Dylan told me, "and I've just been so overwhelmed with everything that's been happening with Jake." "Right," I said. There was a pause. "Yes, it's been really bad, Lila. He hit me again last night. Dylan had to chase him away. I don't know what I'd do without him." I rolled my eyes. Samantha, who was sitting on the couch reading, looked up and mouthed, "Liar, that's terrible," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "When did he hit you?" "Last night." "You said, where, on the face? Because I saw a photo of you this morning. You posted it on Instagram. You were at Starbucks, smiling, no black eye. No bruises. Nothing." Eve's voice got defensive. "It was on my arm. I had a sweater on. You couldn't see it." "What color was the bruise?" I asked. "Fresh bruises are red, then purple. After a few days, they turn green. So if he hit you last night, it should be red. Let me guess. You're wearing a sweater right now. So you can't show me." "Lila, that's not fair," she said, her voice rising. "Why are you attacking me? I'm the one who's being abused, because I'm tired of your lies, Eve," I said, my voice loud enough that Samantha looked up in surprise. "I'm tired of you using Dylan's sympathy to keep him away from me. I'm tired of you pretending to be a victim so you can have him all to yourself. You're not being abused, you're just a selfish, manipulative bitch who can't stand the fact that Dylan chose someone else over you." There was silence on the other end. Then Eve started crying. Fake, dramatic tears. "How could you say that? I thought we were friends. Dylan's going to be so upset when I tell him what you said." "Go ahead and tell him," I said. "Tell him how you lied about Jake hitting you. Tell him how you kept him away from his wife while she was in the hospital. Tell him how you posted photos of him making you pancakes while I was lying in a bed with broken bones. I'm sure he'll be real upset. But guess what? I don't care, because I'm done with both of you." I hung up the phone and threw it on the air mattress. Samantha put down her book and walked over to me. "You okay?" she asked, sitting down next to me. I nodded, smiling through tears. "Yeah, I'm better than okay. I just told Eve off." For the first time ever, I stood up to her. "Hell yeah," Samantha said, high-fiving me. "That's my girl. Now, let's order pizza and watch a movie. No more Dylan, no more Eve, just us, pizza, and bad rom-coms." I laughed. "That sounds perfect," as we ordered pizza and put on a movie. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Eve's call had been annoying, but it had also been freeing. I'd finally stood up for myself, and it felt amazing. Section 9. The next day, I went back to the apartment to grab a few things I'd forgotten. My laptop charger, a box of photos under the bed, and my grandma's old necklace that I'd hidden in the back of the closet. Samantha offered to go with me, but I told her I wanted to do it alone. I needed to face that place one last time. To say goodbye properly, I took a taxi to the apartment building, my legs still sore but manageable with the crutches the hospital had given me. The doorman smiled and held the door open for me. "How are you feeling, Ms. Bennett?" he asked. "Mr. Harris said you'd been sick." Sick was one way to put it. I just smiled and nodded, then took the elevator up to our floor. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the door. I half expected Dylan to be there, but the apartment was empty, quiet. I walked into the bedroom and grabbed my laptop charger from the nightstand. Then I knelt down, carefully, because of my leg, and pulled the box of photos out from under the bed. I opened it, and there they were, photos of me and Dylan at the beach, at my cousin's wedding. The blurry photo he'd taken of me the night he proposed. I flipped through them, my heart aching. But it wasn't a sad ache, it was a nostalgic ache, like remembering a childhood toy you'd loved but outgrown. I put the box down and walked into the closet. I moved the coats aside and found the necklace. Small, gold, with a tiny locket that had a photo of my grandma inside. I put it around my neck, where it belonged, and smiled, as I was walking out of the bedroom. I heard the front door open. My heart stopped. "Dylan." I froze, not knowing what to do. Then I heard Eve's voice. "Dylan, I told you she'd be here," she said, her voice smug. "She's just trying to get your attention." I walked into the living room, and there they were. Dylan was standing by the door, wearing a hoodie and jeans. Eve was standing next to him, her arm linked through his. When they saw me, Dylan's eyes widened. Lila, he said, surprised. What are you doing here? I thought you were with Samantha. I forgot some things, I said, holding up the box of photos and my laptop charger. I'll be out of your way in a minute. Eve stepped forward, her hands on her hips. You're just here to cause trouble, aren't you? Dylan told me what you said on the phone yesterday. That was so mean. I'm going through a terrible time, and you're attacking me. I'm not attacking you, I said, my voice steady. I'm just telling the truth. You're lying about Jake hitting you. And you're using Dylan to get attention. That's not true, Eve yelled. She turned to Dylan, her eyes filled with fake tears. Dylan, tell her Jake hit me. Dylan looked between me and Eve, his face confused. Eve, maybe we should talk about this later. No, Eve screamed. Tell her, right now, I sighed. Dylan, ask her when Jake hit her last. Ask her where. Ask her what color the bruise was. She can't answer, because it never happened. Dylan looked at Eve. Eve, when did Jake hit you last? Eve's face paled. I don't remember. It's all a blur. The trauma, you know, bullshit, I said. You posted a photo of yourself at Starbucks yesterday morning, smiling, no bruises, no signs of trauma. And Dylan, you posted a photo of yourself making her pancakes last night. If Jake had hit her, would she really be eating pancakes and smiling for photos? Dylan's eyes narrowed. He looked at Eve, then back at me. Is that true, Eve? Did you lie to me? Eve's lips started to tremble. I just needed you, Dylan. Jake's been mean to me, and I was scared. I didn't lie. He yelled at me a lot. That's emotional abuse, right? Dylan didn't say anything. He just stared at her, his face hard. I took that as my cue to leave. I'm done here, I said. Turning toward the door. Lila, wait, Dylan said, reaching out to grab my arm. I pulled away. Don't touch me, I said. We're done. Dylan, the divorce papers are on the coffee table. Sign them and send them to my lawyer. I don't want to see you again. I walked out the door, slamming it behind me. I didn't look back. As I took the elevator down to the lobby, I felt a sense of peace. I'd faced Dylan and Eve, and I'd won. I'd told the truth, and Dylan had finally seen Eve for who she really was. It was over. Section 10. A week later, I was settled into Samantha's apartment. I'd gotten a new phone, changed my number, and started physical therapy for my leg and shoulder. I'd also gone back to work at the bookstore, part-time, at first. Since I was still on crutches, it felt good to be back to normal, or as normal as possible. I hadn't heard from Dylan since the day I'd left the apartment. I assumed he was still dealing with Eve, or maybe he was finally coming to his senses. Either way, I didn't care. I was too busy focusing on myself. Then, one morning, I got a text. It was from an unknown number, but I knew it was Dylan. He must have gotten my new number from someone, probably one of our mutual friends. Hey, baby. I'm sorry about everything. I talked to Eve. She admitted she lied about Jake hitting her. I feel so stupid. Can we talk? I want to fix this. I stared at the text for a long time. Part of me wanted to reply, to yell at him, to make him apologize, to make him feel as bad as I'd felt. But the other part of me knew it was a waste of time. Even if he apologized, even if he broke things off with Eve, nothing would change. He'd still be the same guy who put his friend before his wife. He'd still be the same guy who abandoned me in the hospital. I deleted the text and blocked the number. Later that day, he tried calling, twice. Both times, it went to voicemail. Then he texted again, from a different number. Lila, please, I love you. I'll do anything to get you back. Eve's gone. I told her to leave. I just want you. I deleted that text too, and blocked that number. The next morning, I got another text. This time, it was a photo, Dylan and Eve, at the beach. She was wearing a bikini, he was wearing swim trunks, and they were standing next to each other, smiling. The caption read, "Taking my girl to the beach to heal. She deserves the best red heart hash." I laughed. Of course, he'd apologized to me, said he'd broken things off with Eve, and then taken her to the beach. Typical Dylan, always choosing Eve, even when he knew she was a liar. I showed the photo to Samantha. She shook her head. Unbelievable. I told you he was an idiot. But hey, at least now you know for sure. No more second guessing. I know, I said, and I don't care. Let him take her to the beach. Let him waste his time on her. I'm done. That afternoon, I went to physical therapy. My therapist, a nice woman named Maria, told me I was making great progress. "You'll be off the crutches in a couple of weeks," she said, smiling, "and your shoulder will be good as new in a month." After therapy, I stopped at a coffee shop near the bookstore. I ordered a latte and sat down by the window, watching people walk by. A guy walked in, tall, with curly brown hair and a smile that could light up a room. He ordered a coffee, then looked over at me. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from me. I smiled. "No, go ahead." He sat down, and we started talking. His name was Ethan, and he worked at a record store down the street. We talked about music, books, and our favorite coffee shops. He made me laugh, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't think about Dylan or Eve. I just thought about how nice it was to talk to someone who wasn't wrapped up in drama. When I left the coffee shop, Ethan asked for my number. I hesitated for a second, then gave it to him. "Call me," I said, smiling. As I walked to the bookstore, I felt lighter than I had in years. Dylan and Eve could go to the beach, could lie to each other, could do whatever they wanted. It didn't matter. I had a new life, a life without secrets, a life without drama, a life that was mine. Section 11. 2 weeks later, Dylan came home from the beach. I found out from Samantha, who'd run into our old neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, at the grocery store. He walked in, saw the apartment empty, and freaked out. Mrs. Garcia had told her, started yelling, throwing things. Eve was with him, and they got into a huge fight. I could hear them through the walls. I didn't feel sorry for him. Not even a little. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Ethan. We'd been talking almost every day since we met at the coffee shop, and he'd asked me out on a date. "I was thinking we could go to that new Italian place on 5th Avenue, he said. "They have the best pasta, and I heard their tiramisu is to die for." I smiled. "That sounds perfect. I'll meet you there at 7. "It's a date," he said. I hung up the phone, grinning. Samantha walked into the room, holding a bag of groceries. "Who was that?" she asked, wiggling her eyebrows. "Ethan," I said. "We're going on a date tonight." "Italian food?" "Yes," Samantha yelled, dropping the groceries on the counter. "I'm so happy for you. Now, let's find you something to wear. You can't go on a date in sweatpants." While we were digging through my suitcase for something to wear, my phone rang again. This time, it was an unknown number. I knew it was Dylan. I debated not answering, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello, Lila. Where are you?" Dylan's voice was frantic. "The apartment is empty. The divorce papers. You really mean this?" "Yes, I mean it," I said, my voice calm. "I told you I was done. I left the papers there 2 weeks ago. You had plenty of time to sign them." "I was at the beach with Eve," he yelled. "I didn't see them until today. Why didn't you tell me you were leaving?" "I did tell you," I said. "I told you I didn't want you to pick me up from the hospital. I told you I was staying with Samantha. I left the papers on the coffee table. You just didn't listen, because you were too busy with Eve." "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I know I messed up. But I broke up with Eve on the beach. She admitted she lied about Jake, and I told her to go. I just want you back, Lila. I love you. You don't love me, Dylan," I said. "You love the idea of me. You love having someone who waits for you, who doesn't cause trouble, but when push comes to shove, you choose Eve. Every time, and I'm not waiting anymore. I'll change," he said. "I promise. I'll tell my family about you. I'll stop talking to Eve. I'll do anything." "It's too late," I said. "I've moved on. I have a new life, and I don't want you in it." "Who is it?" he asked, suddenly suspicious. "Is there someone else?" I smiled. "That's none of your business. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a date to get ready for." "Lila, don't hang up," he yelled. "Please, just give me another chance." I hung up the phone and blocked the number. Samantha looked at me, smiling. "Good for you," she said. "Now, let's get you ready. That Ethan guy doesn't stand a chance." That night, the date was perfect. Ethan was funny and kind, and he listened when I talked. He asked about my accident, but not in a nosy way. More like he cared. He held the door open for me, pulled out my chair, and even shared his tiramisu with me. As he walked me back to Samantha's apartment, he stopped at the door. "I had a great time," he said, smiling. Can we do this again? I'd like that, I said. He leaned in and kissed me, softly, gently. It felt like the first kiss I'd ever had that wasn't filled with secrets or lies. It felt like hope. As I closed the door behind me, I thought about Dylan, about the 3 years of secret marriage, the 10 days in the hospital, the lies and the drama. It all felt like a distant memory. A bad dream that I'd finally woken up from. Section 12. My first instinct was to hide, like a kid who'd broken a vase and didn't want to face the music, but then I remembered the kiss with Ethan. The way he'd looked at me like I was worth something. I straightened my spine. Let him in, I said. Samantha's eyes widened. Lila, are you sure? He looks like he's gonna explode. I'm sure, I said. It's time to end this once and for all. Samantha unlocked the door, and Dylan stormed in. His hair was messy, his eyes bloodshot, and his hoodie was stained with what looked like coffee. Eve wasn't with him, thank God, but the anger radiating off him was thick enough to cut with a knife. Where the hell have you been? He yelled, pointing a finger at me. Why did you leave? You could have at least told me. I did tell you, I said, leaning against the counter and crossing my arms. My leg was still a little sore, but I refused to let him see me weak. I told you at the hospital I didn't want you to pick me up. I told you I was staying with Samantha. I left divorce papers on the coffee table. You chose not to listen. You chose Eve. I broke up with her, he screamed. On the beach, I told her she was a liar and that I never wanted to see her again. I came home to fix things with you, and you were gone. You broke up with her after you took her to the beach, I said, laughing dryly. After you posted that photo of her, calling her your girl. Spare me the hero act. Dylan, it's too late. Samantha stepped between us, her arms outstretched like she was protecting me from a wild animal. That's enough. Dylan, she doesn't want you here. You need to leave. This isn't your business, Samantha, he snapped, glaring at her. Stay out of it. It is my business when you show up at my apartment yelling at my best friend. She shot back. You abandoned her in the hospital for 10 days. Dylan, 10 days. She broke her leg and her shoulder. And you were too busy playing house with Eve to even call. You don't get to waltz in here and demand she take you back. Dylan's face turned red. He looked at me, his eyes softening for a second. Lila, I'm sorry. I know I messed up, more than messed up, but I love you. I've always loved you. Eve was a mistake, a stupid mistake. Let me make it right. For a split second, my heart twinged. I remembered the way he used to hold me when I was sad, the way he'd surprise me with my favorite donuts on my birthday, the way he'd whispered "I do" to me in that tiny gas station bathroom 3 years ago. But then I remembered the hospital, the empty bed, the photo of him and Eve on the couch. The 10 days of silence, that twinge disappeared. You can't make it right, I said, my voice steady. What you did isn't something you can fix with an apology. You chose to abandon your wife when she needed you most. You chose a liar over me. And even after you found out she was lying, you still took her to the beach. That's not love, Dylan. That's selfishness. You love the way I make you feel. Calm, normal, safe. But when things get hard, you run to someone who makes you feel like a hero. I'm not gonna be your backup plan anymore. He took a step toward me, reaching out to grab my hand. No, baby, that's not true. Don't touch me, I said, pulling away. If you really loved me, you would have been there. You would have picked up the phone. You would have chosen me, but you didn't. And now I've chosen someone who will. Dylan froze. Someone else? He asked, his voice quiet. Is there someone else? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The smile on my face said it all. His face crumpled. For a second, I thought he was gonna cry, but then the anger came back, hotter than before. Who is he? He yelled. Is it that guy from the bookstore? The one you were talking to last month? I raised an eyebrow. How do you know about him? I asked Mike. He said, he saw you with him. Is that it? You left me for some random guy you just met. He's not a random guy, I said. He's someone who cares about me, someone who shows up, someone who doesn't choose his ex-best friend over me. Unlike you. Dylan took a deep breath, his chest heaving. He looked around the tiny apartment, at the air mattress in the corner, at my suitcase open on the floor, at the photo of me and Samantha on the fridge, and shook his head. You're making a mistake, he said. You'll regret this. I know you will. I won't, I said. The only mistake I ever made was marrying you in secret. The only mistake was staying with you while you put Eve first. I'm not making that mistake anymore. Samantha grabbed his arm and started pulling him toward the door. It's time to go, Dylan. Before I call the cops, he fought her for a second. But then he gave up. He looked at me one last time, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and sadness. I'll be back, he said. I'm not giving up on us. Don't bother, I said. Samantha slammed the door behind him. We both stood there for a second, listening to his footsteps fade down the hallway. Then she turned to me, her face soft. You okay? I nodded, a tear rolling down my cheek, but it wasn't a sad tear, it was a tear of relief. Yeah, I said, wiping it away. I'm finally okay. Samantha hugged me tight. Good, she said. Now, let's make some coffee, and then we can talk about your date with Ethan. I need all the details, I laughed, pulling away from her. Okay, but first, pass the sugar. This coffee's gonna need it. As we sat on the couch drinking coffee, I felt lighter than I had in years. Dylan was gone, the drama was gone, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my life. Whatever happened next, I knew I could handle it. I was strong, I was free, and I was never going back. Section 13. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes. Blueberry, my favorite. I rolled over on the air mattress and saw Samantha standing at the tiny kitchen counter, flipping a stack while humming a pop song. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting warm stripes on the floor, and for a second, I forgot all about Dylan's outburst the night before. Morning, she said, noticing I was awake. Figured we could use a victory breakfast. You totally crushed that Dylan showdown last night. I laughed, swinging my legs over the edge of the mattress. My legs still ached a little when I put weight on it, but Maria had said that was normal. Thanks, couldn't have done it without you playing bodyguard. Hey, that's what best friends are for, she said, sliding a plate of pancakes onto the coffee table. Syrup's in the fridge. Oh. And Ethan texted you, something about picking you up for lunch later. My face heated up. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and saw a message from Ethan. Heard there's a great sandwich shop near your bookstore. Wanna grab lunch around 12? I'll bring your favorite latte. I smiled and typed back, sounds perfect, can't wait. Over pancakes, Samantha grilled me about the kiss with Ethan. Was it good? Like, forget Dylan ever existed good, she asked, wiggling her eyebrows. It was really good, I admitted. He's just nice. No drama, no lies, no talking about his ex-best friend every 5 minutes. That's the minimum requirement for a guy. Lila, Samantha said, mock serious. But I'm glad he's stepping up. You deserve someone who treats you like a priority, not an afterthought. By 11:30, I was showered and dressed in a floral dress that fell just below my knees, easy to move in with my still healing leg. I was putting on a pair of flats when there was a knock at the door. Samantha looked through the peephole and grinned. It's your Prince Charming, with coffee. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Ethan was standing there, holding a paper cup from my favorite coffee shop and a small bouquet of daisies. These are for you, he said, handing me the flowers. Saw them at the bodega down the street and thought they matched your dress. My heart fluttered. Dylan had never bought me flowers. Not once in 3 years, he'd said. Flowers are a waste of money. I'd rather get you something useful. At the time, I'd thought it was practical. Now, I realized it was just another way he'd neglected me. Thank you, I said, smiling. They're beautiful. Samantha popped her head around the door. I'm Samantha, the official best friend and drama detector, she said, holding out her hand. If you hurt her, I'll hide your record collection. Ethan laughed. Fair enough. I'll keep that in mind. The sandwich shop was a tiny hole in the wall with mismatched tables and chairs, but the food was amazing. Ethan got a pastrami sandwich, and I got a turkey avocado wrap. His suggestion, we talked for an hour, about everything from our childhoods to our least favorite movies. He told me about his sister, who was a nurse in Chicago, and how he'd moved to New York to pursue a career in music production. The record store job was just to pay the bills. I told him about the bookstore, about Samantha, and, briefly, about Dylan. I didn't go into the details of the secret marriage or the accident, just that we'd broken up because he'd chosen his friend over me. That's messed up, he said, reaching across the table and covering my hand with his. His touch was warm and gentle, not possessive like Dylan's had been. You shouldn't have to fight for someone's attention, especially not someone who's supposed to love you. I nodded, trying not to cry. No one had ever said that to me before, not even Samantha, who'd been more focused on cheering me up than validating my pain. It felt good to be seen, to be understood. After lunch, Ethan walked me to the bookstore. It was my first full shift back, and I was a little nervous. Need me to wait outside until you're settled? He asked. No, that's okay, I said, but, do you want to get dinner tonight? Maybe that Italian place you mentioned. His face lit up. I'd love to. I'll pick you up at 6. It's a date, I said. He kissed my cheek softly, then left. I watched him walk down the street, a smile on my face, before turning to go into the bookstore. The shift went by quickly. My coworker, Maya, had saved me the easy tasks, reshelving paperbacks, ringing up customers, since I was still on light duty. Around 3 p.m., the bell above the door jingled, and I looked up expecting a customer. Instead, I saw Mike, Dylan's friend. He stood in the doorway, shifting from foot to foot, looking guilty. Hey, Lila, he said, his voice quiet. Can we talk? It's about Dylan. I sighed. I didn't want to talk about Dylan, not when I was having such a good day, but Mike had always been nice to me. He'd even defended me once when Dylan's mom had made a snide comment about me being just a friend. I gestured to a chair in the corner. Sure, but make it quick, I'm working. He sat down, running a hand through his hair. Dylan's a mess, he said. After he left your place last night, he went to a bar and got wasted. He kept yelling about how he messed up, how he loved you. Then he tried to call Eve. Can you believe that? She didn't answer, so he showed up at her apartment. Her roommate told him she'd moved out this morning, said she got a job in Boston and left last night. I raised an eyebrow. Good for her. I know you don't care about him anymore, Mike said quickly, and I don't blame you, but he's been calling me non-stop, asking where you are. He even went to the old apartment and tore it apart looking for your new address. I told him I didn't know, but I'm worried about him. He's never been this bad, and I'm worried he'll show up here, or at Samantha's place, and cause trouble. My stomach dropped. I thought I'd seen the last of Dylan's drama. But it looked like it wasn't over yet. What do you want me to do, Mike? I asked. Call him and tell him to leave me alone. I already did that. He doesn't listen. I just wanted to warn you, he said. Maybe talk to the doorman at Samantha's building. Tell him not to let Dylan in, and if he does show up, call the cops. Don't try to handle it yourself. I will, I said. Thanks for telling me, Mike. He nodded, then stood up. I'm really sorry about everything, Lila. You didn't deserve any of this. After he left, I couldn't focus. All I could think about was Dylan showing up at the bookstore, or at dinner with Ethan, making a scene. I texted Samantha, telling her about Mike's warning, and she replied, already talked to the doorman. He knows Dylan's face, said he won't let him in, and if he does, I've got a baseball bat under my bed. Don't worry about it. Enjoy your date. Her message made me laugh, and I tried to push the worry aside. Ethan was picking me up in an hour, and I didn't want to ruin our date with thoughts of Dylan. At 6 p.m., I locked up the bookstore and saw Ethan waiting outside, leaning against a lamppost. He was wearing a button-down shirt and jeans, and he held out a hand to help me down the steps. You look beautiful, he said. Thank you, I said. You look pretty good too. We walked to the Italian restaurant, and for a while, I forgot about Dylan. Ethan told me about a demo he'd been working on, a soft, acoustic song that he said made him think of you. He promised to play it for me sometime. I told him about my grandma, the one who'd given me the cat mug and the necklace, and how she taught me to love books. Dinner was even better than our first date. The pasta was creamy and flavorful, and the tiramisu was, as Ethan had promised, to die for. After we finished eating, he walked me back to Samantha's apartment. We stood outside the building, under the streetlight, and he took my hand. I had a great night, he said. You make me forget about all the stupid stuff. Work, deadlines, the fact that my landlord raised my rent. I smiled. You make me forget about stupid stuff too. He leaned in and kissed me, slower this time, and I melted into it. For a second, there was no Dylan, no Eve, no secret marriage. There was just Ethan, and the warmth of his lips, and the promise of something new. When we pulled away, he smiled. "I'll call you tomorrow, please," I said. I walked into the building, my heart still racing, and waved at him before closing the door. The doorman nodded at me. "No sign of him tonight, Ms. Bennett," he said. "Thanks, Joe," I said. Samantha was sitting on the couch, watching TV. When I walked in, "How was the date?" she asked, pausing the show. "Perfect," I said, grinning. "He's going to play me a song he wrote, about me." "Yes," she yelled, high-fiving me. I knew he was a keeper. "Now, let's watch a movie, something with lots of romance and 0 ex-husbands." I sat down next to her, and she handed me a bowl of popcorn. As the movie started, I thought about Mike's warning. Dylan might still be out there, hurting and angry, but for the first time, I didn't care. I had Samantha. I had Ethan. I had a new life that was finally mine. But just as the movie's opening credits rolled, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. It was a photo of me and Ethan, taken outside the Italian restaurant. The caption was from Dylan. "He's just a rebound. I'll get you back, Lila, I promise." Alright, that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We'll keep updating with more exciting stories. And we look forward to seeing you next time.